The Senate will please come to order. We'll begin this afternoon with a moment. We'll begin this afternoon with a moment of silence before a devotional. I'd like to recognize the day, today being January 6th, and 1 year since many of you took the oath of office, but also 1 year since the insurrection. And just to recognize the service of the brave men and women who helped protect our democracy, the Capitol and capitals across the country, including our own Capitol here in Montpelier a year ago. So I kindly invite you to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Today's devotional exercise will be conducted remotely by Rabbi Toby Weissman, Director of the Jewish Communities of Vermont. Welcome, Rabbi.
Thank you. Could everybody hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to be with you all. And too bad we can't be in person. I look forward to that. There's a story about a person who was dying. Everybody who was in the room had given up hope. The Rebbe, who was a Jewish leader, but more than a leader, really everyone's best friend, who knows his disciples from the inside out. He walked into the room, took one look at the person who lay dying and declared, "He will live." 2 minutes later, the man died. And the Rebbe's Hasidim, his disciples, cried out to him, "Rebbe, why did you declare that he was going to live? You knew he was going to die." And the Rebbe replied, "Although I knew he was going to die, I wanted to make sure that he really lived for those last 2 minutes." We all know how hard it has been during the last 2 years of the pandemic and marking the anniversary of the attack on our capital last year. The world is facing many crises. It is difficult to hold on to hope that life will get better. But we can't give up now. We need to think outside the box of fear and despair. A book just came out by a local writer living in East Montpelier named Ron Koss. His new book is called Parallel. It's a global warming economic and activist paradigm. He writes, "If the possible is failing us, what is the impossible that would not?" According to Jewish tradition, this week we celebrated a minor Jewish holiday called Rosh Chodesh, the new month of Shvat. Every month we have a new chance to begin again, new energy, new renewal for the whole creation and for each of us. This month we celebrate the holiday of Tu B'Shvat, which falls on the 15th of the month of Shvat, and we celebrate the new year for the trees. The new year for the trees makes more sense in Israel, where it starts to get warm. But what sense is it here in Vermont to celebrate the new year for the trees when we're facing sub-zero weather and we know that we have a long winter still ahead of us? Well, the answer is, according to Rabbi Menachem Meiri from the 13th century, this month, Tu B'Shvat, the 15th of the month, is actually the midpoint between fall and spring. So we are at the halfway mark. And once half of the winter has passed, its strength is weakened, he says. The cold is not as intense, hopefully, and the budding process begins. So take heart. Yes, we may be in the middle of winter, but the 15th of this month of Shvat makes a turning point, a time when under all that cold and snow, the sap of the trees is rising, readying for spring. In a sense, the 15th of this month of Shvat signifies that sometimes it is precisely within the darkest and coldest moments of our lives that the new blossoms spring forth. In the book of Deuteronomy, it says, "A person is like a tree." So let us begin today to be like trees. Let us dig our roots deeper into the rich soil and connect to each other with hope and imagination so that our sap and positive energy will rise within us and make room for the blossoming of a better world right here, right now.
Thank you, Rabbi. Are there any announcements this afternoon? Seeing none, hearing none, I believe we have 7 bills for introduction. S-200, an act relating to Act 250 Downtown Master Plan Permits, introduced by Senator McCormick. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
S-200, an act relating to Act 250 Downtown Master Plan Permits.
You've heard the first reading, and the bill is referred to Natural Resources and Energy, the Committee on Natural Resources and Energy. S-201, an act relating to the use of leg hold traps, introduced by Senator McCormick. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
S-201, an act relating to the use of leg hold traps.
You've heard the first reading, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Natural Resources and Energy. S-202, an act relating to supporting creative sector business and cultural organizations, introduced by Senators Clarkson, Benning, Cummings, and Rom Hinsdale. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
S-202, an act relating to supporting creative sector businesses and cultural organizations.
You've heard the first reading of the bill. The bill is referred to the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs. S-203, an act relating to workforce development, introduced by Senators Brock, Ingalls, Parent, and Terenzini. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
S-203, an act relating to workforce development.
You've heard the first reading, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Government Operations. S-204, an act relating to licensure of freestanding birth centers, introduced by Senators Lyons, Hooker, Hardy, Perchlik, and Rom Hinsdale. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
S-204, an act relating to licensure of freestanding birth centers.
You've heard the first reading, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Health and Welfare. S-205, an act relating to making certain reforms to Vermont's healthcare system, introduced by Senators Brock, Ingalls, and Parent. Please listen to the first reading of S-205.
S-205, an act relating to making certain reforms to Vermont's health care system.
You've heard the first reading, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Health and Welfare. And finally, S-206, an act relating to planning for the care and treatment of patients with cognitive impairments, introduced by Senators Brock, Hardy, Ingalls, and Parent. Please listen to the first reading of S-206.
S-206, an act relating to planning for the care and treatment of patients with cognitive impairments.
You've heard the first reading, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Health and Welfare. That concludes the bill introductions for today. This brings us to the orders of the day. I believe we do not have any business to take up, so that concludes the orders of the day, and the senator from Windham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, pending announcements, I move that the Senate stand in adjournment until 11:30 Friday, January 7th.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Windham has moved that subject to any announcements, the Senate do adjourn until Friday, January 7th at 11:30. Are there any announcements this afternoon? The senator from Bennington, Senator Campion, is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Senate Education will join Senate Finance at 1:30 for a presentation on the waiting study. Thank you.
Thank you. The senator from Washington is recognized. Senator, kindly unmute.
Sorry. Senate Finance will meet at 1:30 along with the Senate Committee on Education.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Addison is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Senate Natural Resources and Energy will meet tomorrow morning, 8:30.
Thank you. The senator from Windham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Senate Government Operations will meet at 1:30.
Thank you. Are there any additional announcements? The senator from Windham has moved. Excuse me, Senator, apologies. The senator from Caledonia, Senator Benning, is recognized. With apologies, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. Institutions will be meeting at 1:45. And Madam President, I wonder if I could take a moment of personal privilege at this stage.
You may.
Madam President, this being January 6th and a unfortunate memory for all of us, I would just like to reflect as a Republican on the circumstances of that day. First, I want to state emphatically that in my opinion, the 2020 election was not stolen. While fraud may take place in almost every election, widespread fraud did not exist, and we know that due to at least 64 court opinions, including the United States Supreme Court opinion. January 6th was not a protest. It was not a creation of left-wing extremists. It was not an FBI conspiracy. It was an attempt to disrupt the peaceful transfer of power, the very definition of an insurrection. I'd like to note that the signs and the hats and the flags that were carried are going to be the permanent stain on our record as a country as we move forward. Having said that, and even in recognition of well over 400 people who have thus far been prosecuted, I am glad to pause and say that in spite of the fact that there were numerous Vermonters present in Washington, D.C. that day, who went to exercise their constitutional right of peaceful protest, none of them, to my knowledge, has been charged. And I want to thank them for staying out of the fray. I also want to note Mike Pence, then Vice President. Whether you believe in his politics or you don't, Mike Pence stood and upheld his responsibilities under the Constitution. He has been since been called a rhino by many. Rhino meaning Republican in name only. I'll close, Madam President, with the observation that a real Republican stands for the Constitution and does not trample upon it. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Windham has moved that subject to any announcements, the Senate do adjourn until Friday, January 7th at 11:30 a.m. Seeing no further announcements, are you ready for the question? Kindly unmute. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the Senate stands adjourned until tomorrow, January 7th at 11:30.